Hi everyone. Sorry. We're going to have a little demonstration here. We have John Rudnicki.
Mike Rudnicki.
Mike? See, I knew it was, but you said John.
John's my partner.
Oh. Okay, never mind, sorry. And this is Lyndon from LTL. I don't know your last name, Lyndon. Huh? Yeah, sure. That's Lyndon. Mike is based out of Thunder Bay, and this is his own little designed drum crushing unit. It is around 400 pounds. It's made to be slung in a helicopter or in an otter or caravan of some sort. It works off a... Well, maybe I'll let you guys do it because you're better. That's what you're here for.
Fair enough.
And there's room up here too if you want to actually like see what's going on.
Yeah, if you guys want to come in a little bit closer, that's fine too, and I wouldn't necessarily have to use the mic. I'm a contractor, so I can get a little loud. So my name's Lyndon Brescia. I'm with LTL Environmental. We are an environmental contractor based out of Thunder Bay. This is a unit that we have for rent, and it's a pretty sleek design. Definitely drawn to Mike's design with this, how compact it is, and like Lindsay was saying, it can be flown in remotely with a helicopter, packed on an airplane pretty easily. The two of us used a little dolly, and we were able to bring it in here if some of you guys hadn't seen. It fits in the box of a pickup truck to be able to move around. It doesn't really take up a lot of real estate, so it's pretty handy. One thing with this unit, for safety-wise, comes more towards the drum handling. The unit is safe in design, or by design, but for the preparation for the drums, it takes a little bit of work in order to get them ready before you're going to want to just start poking holes in drums like you would crush with an excavator. So with this, you're going to want a gas free, you're going to want to make sure that they're emptied and they're safe and ready to go. Then you would put them in just like any other type of recycling or cutting up. You put them in the unit and it makes them a lot smaller. So it's just like any magic box. You've got a big drum, close the door, push the button, open the door, little drum. John has a little more detail on that, so I'll let him take over from here, and we'll be able to do a demonstration shortly.
It's Mike.
Sorry, Mike.
Mike.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. So the unit, as Lyndon already said, the predominant reason for me designing it was to be able to take this with you into a remote area. One of the things that we've ran into several times is that people don't have access to big power. They don't have access to big pieces of equipment. If you have an excavator to crush your barrels with an excavator. If you have a commercial unit, big horsepower, big voltage unit in a building in an airport or whatever, it's probably going to do it quicker than this thing. This thing is designed to be portable, is designed to be taken onto a site. It's designed to be either slung below a helicopter, it will fit in a helicopter, it will fit in a Twin Otter, it will fit in several other aircraft, and it's light enough that it can get there. This is, I don't know if there's any others that are mechanical. There's no hydraulics in this. There is no hydraulic oil, period. And it's a quiet unit that runs off 110 volts, and a 3,000 watt Honda generator will run this unit literally anywhere. And that's where it has its strength. So you could take it on a half-ton into a remote area. You could take it in a, I used to take it to the shows in my minivan because it's small enough and it's light enough. So that's the idea behind it. It has a built-in sump. It's a small sump. So if there's any residual water or any residual liquids, it has that built into it. It also has a pipe from the bottom side, so if a person does have a little bit more of that stuff, they can drain it or they can leave a pipe attached or otherwise. But as you can see here, I use this as one of the barrels that I crushed earlier today. So I'll let you take care of that. So there is a sump in the bottom of that unit. Okay. Nothing on this will work unless the door is closed. So you can press buttons till you're blue in the face, it won't help you at all. Close the door and latch the door and then the unit will work. Okay, and it's very, very noisy, as you can tell. So you can't be in a place that's required too much silence, otherwise this is, But that is it. That's everything right there. You hear it running right now. So what this is doing right now is it's coming back to the top so that we can put a full-size barrel inside there. Okay? So it has switches that automatically stop it at the top, automatically stop it at the bottom, as well as an overload switch, because some of the barrels are lighter than other barrels. So what we have found is that in some cases, the barrels themselves won't crush as much as they do in others. If you open the door at all, it immediately stops, and you can see where that platen is now, how much it's come up. Okay. There's a stop switch, there's an emergency stop switch as well. And there isn't too much more I can really say about it, other than when I was designing this thing, I was doing the best I could to keep this as small and as compact as I possibly could. This is this is a 4th generation design. We have several others that are out in the field already working. This being the 4th generation, we have made some more improvements to it and some more stuff we've simplified on it and so on and so forth to make it a little bit more user-friendly and a little less moving parts, and etc. A lot of the stuff is solid state now. We've gone to solid state overloader as opposed to mechanical overloader on this unit, and it's designed to specifically stop by itself if the barrel gets too heavy, or if someone leaves pipe wrenches or something inside the barrel, it will stop. It'll start to come back up on its own.
All your parts?
Pardon me?
All your parts?
All the parts? All the parts, good point. All the parts and componentry in here are standard off-the-shelf parts. Now, being from Thunder Bay, everybody that knows from Thunder Bay, or anybody that's in any of the remote areas, knows that sometimes getting parts, even if they are common, is a little bit of a pain. So the bearings in this are the same bearings that are used on trailers. The componentry, all the componentry in here is standard off-the-shelf componentry. There's nothing goofy inside this. You don't have to call me and say, Mike, I need this circuit board. What do you have to do to get a circuit board? These circuit boards are off the shelf. I've got some of them in stock. Another local supplier has some of them in stock. Anything ever goes wrong with it, we have parts in stock, so it's not something you have to search for. Okay? And that's not to say everything, but there's only so much we could do with that. So as you can see, that is stopped by itself. And that platen is all the way at the top. And I actually had to make this a little bit taller because I found out now that the barrels that we have in Thunder Bay and the barrels that we have available to us aren't as tall as some of the barrels that are out there. So a couple of these are way up north in Yellowknife and Whitehorse, I believe, and they're crushing some kind of barrels from resin, which are actually taller than the barrels we have. So this allows, there's provisions in here that will allow us to make this a little bit taller yet if we need to. But this is big enough for, obviously, for the 45-gallon drum, and yet we wanted to keep it as compact as is humanly possible so that the drums themselves, this is barely bigger than the drum. So, all right, Lyndon, be so kind.
Sure. So, after your on-site trained personnel have made the barrels clean and safe,
So what we do with this is we will have some more stops to set this up a little bit, basically centered in the unit. The idea behind this, again, is make sure that it is as simple and as user-friendly as is possible. He's got the cap in his hand. You always want to make sure that there is nothing that is in that barrel that is compressible or that in any way, shape, or form it will be compressed. That's when there's potential for hazards. Okay. Now this unit probably would overload and come back before it would actually crush something or compress something, but why take the chance? That's where these guys come into play, where they are able to give the proper training and so on, make sure that the barrels are clean and good to go.
And if, he made the unit so easy, some of the instructions are right on the door. Clean the barrel, no gas, no diesel. Pretty straightforward.
The other thing that we did with this is this handle pins it at the top and at the bottom. And as you can see, we didn't spare the horses on the hinge assembly and so on. Same thing with this side, everything is in place for a reason. If something does go haywire, there's venting on the back of this barrel crusher. There's a couple reasons for that, a little bit of cooling and so on and so forth, but also to allow gas to escape. And this is your weak link. Odds are no one's going to be walking behind this at any given time when they're crushing. They're going to be in the front here loading it, or the control panel, which is on this side, that's where they're going to be. So if something does go haywire, heaven forbid, all of it should come out the back without anybody getting hurt or killed, because that's the objective. Okay. Other than that, we have an up, down, and a stop. Kind of complicated, but I like to keep things simple. And that's basically it. So when we press the crush button, there's a few seconds of hesitation, and then it starts, and it will actually crush the barrel. And as I said before, we could stop this at any given time with our stop button, or if you open the door, it'll automatically stop. So now you can hear the barrel doing its thing. So I just stopped it just to show you. So I like to call this my can crusher on steroids. So we continue to crush with this, and there is circuit breakers, and there's fuses and all the rest of the safety stuff in the unit. It's designed so that it won't give you any grief, won't give you any problems, and if somehow or other this gets overloaded or whatever the case may be, it'll say, no, sorry, you can't do that. So that's what we basically designed it for. Last customer that I sold one of these to, I heard from him about a month later, and he crushed already 1,000 barrels with one of these units. And I don't know if that was in the middle of nowhere or in their own site or otherwise, but there's a lot that goes into this. There's a lot of expense that goes into building one of these things. The screws are special screws. They won't bind, they won't lock. So if anybody's ever fooled around before with a wrench and tightened something, it takes just as much energy to break it free. Well, these are not locking. These will not lock on their own. So that's the beauty of this, is that this unit will not jam, period. And again, even without touching the button, if I hit the door latch, the unit stops. So we can go a little bit more, I don't know how much more. On most of these, they don't have the on most of these units, that barrel will come down to as little as 5.5 inches. Okay, but on average 7 inches, and it'll trip the overloader. Some barrels will not. Some barrels will only come to 13 inches tall when they're being crushed, because they're heavy barrels. In some cases they have a polyurethane lining, and I'm not exactly sure what the reasoning is for some of them to be as heavy as they are, but some of the heavier barrels will not come down that much. But the economics behind this, or the driving force behind this, is the fact that you could take it anywhere with you. So I'm sure everyone here is familiar with the price of getting in and out of remote areas. So if you can take 30 barrels instead of 9, it doesn't take very long for a person to do the math It doesn't take very long for any of this stuff to make it worth its while. So that was the premise behind this unit, and again, it's predominantly about getting these areas cleaned up that you otherwise can't get cleaned up. And as I said before, if you have an excavator, or if you have a faster method of doing this, by all means you use it, right? But a remote area, you could bring this in, if you have to, you could bring this in a 16-foot aluminum boat to a remote area.
One of the other advantages is, too, is you take a 3-person operation plus a piece of equipment, and you turn it into a one-man in this operation. So there's a ton of efficiency gained right there. Clean your barrels, you crush them. It takes a little bit of time compared to that excavator or the cutting or whatever other type of procedures that are in place. So this can definitely do some recovery pretty quick.
And the nice thing about it is again, when the barrels come out, as you saw from the other one and from this one, when the barrels come out, they're crushed the hard way, so they're condensed quite a bit, and it takes up, even those barrels take up a lot less space than crushing the barrels the other direction. The nice thing about this, the rails themselves, which are these corners, these are extruded. I special ordered these. They have guides on them. What they do is they bring that down very, very evenly. So there's very little shifting side to side or otherwise, so that that drum remains roughly that size. Don't get me wrong, it will expand here and there, but for the most part, it remains a round drum, which takes up a lot less space than if you try to crush it any other way.
With that lack of movement and everything else, there's minimal wear parts, minimal maintenance that's required. And even for the power source, you're not stuck with plugging into the wall. For as remote as you need to go, you can grab a little 3,000 watt generator, plug it in, 110 volts, 15 amps. You're in business, the drum crushing business. So
I'd like to open it up. If there's anybody that has any questions or anything that you'd like to ask, please feel free. Pardon me? Well, it's hard for me to come up with any kind of a number right now. I know LTL wants to rent them, but the problem is that a lot of the componentry in this is US componentry. So the stuff that I had for this to put together is one price, but now all of that stuff is gone 30–40%. So I can't even actually give you an actual number right at this point in time.
Is it for sale or for rent?
Both.
both.
Yes.
What's the average?
So when are you gonna provide that information?
Pardon me?
If
So when will you provide that information?
if you'd like, what I can do is I can give you some cards, and if you wanted to send me some, send me your contact information, we can work something out for you for sure.
That's the big problem, is that I want to try and keep it as competitive as I can. So there's only a couple of components in here that come from Canada. Everything else comes from US and abroad. So I have to go through my whole entire list of all the parts to try and get everything nailed down as accurately as I can.
These units right here, these are not assembly line units at this point. He makes them by hand. So he has the equipment, the machinery. This is complete, done by hand in Thunder Bay in his machine shop.
Yes?
Does it have hydraulic fluids in it?
There's no hydraulics. It's all mechanical. It's all mechanical. There's no hydraulics at all. There's no hydraulic fluid. There's no maintenance for that end of things at all.
And the crushing plate doesn't require replacement?
Nope. Not so far. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to say that parts don't wear out. I don't care what it is. Anything that moves, sooner or later, it's going to wear out, right? But to date, I haven't had any issues with any of these machines at all, period, to date, touch wood. So I'm not saying that they won't, but
Would you offer any type of warranty period?
there is a warranty with the machine. There is a warranty with the machine, and I can't remember what I have on this particular unit, but I think it's a 3-month warranty that comes with the machine. But again, it's one of those things that's somewhat subjective. If there's something that went wrong with it because of something that I did or whatever the case may be, I stand behind my product. So that end of things, you know, there really isn't an issue from that perspective. It's just the question has to be, you know, as is typical, I have had a person come to me with warranty for one of the units that I sold that I think UPS must have dragged it behind their truck for 5 or 10 miles because it was beat so badly that it wasn't even funny. What was the ridiculous part about all of that is that after they took all the broken componentry out, which was the motor area and so on, the unit actually worked for them. So I sent them a new motor and I sent them a new cover and a couple other things that they broke, but and UPS never did come good for it. I fought with them and finally gave up fighting. But obviously those kinds of things, you know, if someone decides to drop this in a lake, brings it to me, I can't warranty that, you know. But the rest of the way, the unit itself has been good to us, so I don't have any issues. Everything that's in here, I've overbuilt it. So everything that I had for specifications, I pretty much doubled it with what I needed. So it is a good, durable unit. And my way of looking at it is, if the customer is happy, and I know that these are going into remote areas, it's important for me to make sure that the thing is going to work for you. That's the important part for me. You know, and if you're happy with it, I know you're going to come buy a second one, or a third one, or a fourth one, or a
Tell your
fifth one.
friends. Yeah. And it's built strong, as you just said. It's overbuilt. It's easy to find the parts for replacement, and you've got support behind you with the unit for tech support, for resources in order to operate as well as maintain the unit. So it's not just a drum crusher. There's a good package here with it.
We build the units. I personally oversee the building of the unit. I do a lot of the work on these units myself. So I could pretty much tell you everything in this thing from one end to another, literally off the top of my head. So this, along with a couple of the other products that we have, it's not hard for me to repair an issue over the phone if there's something that's going wrong or if there's something that's not working the way it's supposed to. It's a relatively simple system. As I say, we try and keep it as simple as possible. Engineer once said, a design is not complete when you have added everything you can possibly add. It's complete when you have taken away everything you can possibly take away. So that's what we try to do. There's a lot of stuff that we simplify more and more each time we learn and we build one of these. We simplify it more and more so there are less moving parts, less issues with anything. So
How much does it weigh?
just a little over 400 pounds.
Doesn't have wheels or nothing?
Again, that's, you know, something that we can provide, but most people don't really want that. So the other nice thing about this unit, it doesn't have to have a super solid foundation. It doesn't have to be level to work. There are two surfaces. There's the back surface and that other side surface, which it can be laid down on for transportation purposes. So if you're taking it in an aircraft, you can take it on its side, on its back, or standing straight up. So we try and keep that part of it simple. If a person's going to be moving it around a lot, I use a dolly to move it around. By all means, the wheels can be put on it. One of the models that we had two wheels on one end that you can tip it and roll it. But again, it's one of those things, unless you have a smooth surface to work with and so on and so forth, sometimes that could be more of a pain than it's worth. So that's the reason we don't do that.